The dog tried to push the baby off the bed, then paramedics uncovered a hidden danger. Max lunged at the crib with a force that made Jessica's heart stop. The golden Labrador's teeth were bared, his growl echoing through the nursery as he snapped at baby Emma's blanket, trying to drag her away. Jessica screamed and threw herself between them, her mind racing with one terrifying thought. Their gentle family dog had just turned violent. But what happened next would reveal a truth so devastating, it would haunt them forever. They were all in danger and Max knew it before anyone else. This is their story. Hit that like button and subscribe because you won't believe how this ends. Jessica Miller wiped the spit up from her shoulder for the third time that morning. 4 months of being a new mom had turned her into someone she barely recognized. Her hair was always in a messy bun. Dark circles lived permanently under her eyes. The yoga pants she wore hadn't been washed in 3 days. Her husband Ryan worked long shifts as an electrician, usually leaving before sunrise and coming home after dark. They lived in a small 2-bedroom house in Columbus, Ohio, the kind of neighborhood where everyone knew each other and kids rode bikes until the streetlights came on. Before Emma arrived, life had been simpler. Jessica had worked as a dental hygienist. They'd go out for dinner on Fridays, sleep in on weekends. Now everything revolved around feeding schedules and diaper changes and trying to figure out why the baby was crying this time. Max had been their first baby. They'd adopted him from a shelter 3 years ago, and he'd been the perfect dog. Loyal, gentle, always happy. He'd sleep at the foot of their bed every night and greet them at the door with his tail wagging so hard his whole body would shake. But things changed when Emma came home from the hospital. At first, Max seemed curious about the baby. He'd sniff her carefully and watch from a distance. Jessica thought it was sweet. Ryan joked that Max was being a protective big brother. Then the strange behavior started. Max began pacing the hallway at night. He'd stand outside Emma's nursery and whine, a high-pitched sound that would wake Jessica from whatever little sleep she managed to get. When she'd check on him, he'd be staring at the crib with his ears pinned back. During the day, he'd follow Jessica everywhere. If she sat down to feed Emma, Max would push his nose under her arm. If she laid the baby on the play mat, Max would circle around them, restless and anxious. Jessica tried to be patient. She'd read online that dogs sometimes get jealous of new babies. They need time to adjust. She'd pet Max and tell him he was still a good boy, but honestly she was too tired to deal with his neediness on top of everything else. Ryan suggested maybe they should keep Max out of the nursery completely. So they started closing the door during naps and at night. But that only made things worse. Max would scratch at the door and bark until they let him in. The vet said Max seemed healthy. No injuries, no illness. Just give him attention and he'd calm down eventually. But Max didn't calm down. He got more frantic with each passing day. 2 weeks later, Jessica started feeling off. Nothing she could put her finger on exactly. Just tired, more tired than usual. Her head felt heavy like she was walking through fog. She'd get dizzy when she stood up too fast. She blamed it on lack of sleep. Every new mom felt this way, right? Emma was still waking up 3 times a night. Of course she felt like garbage. Ryan complained about headaches. Bad ones that started in the afternoon and got worse by evening. He'd come home from work and collapse on the couch, barely able to keep his eyes open during dinner. Emma seemed fussy too. She'd cry more than normal and her little cheeks looked pale. Jessica worried she might be getting sick. She checked her temperature constantly, but it was always normal. Meanwhile, Max was losing his mind. He'd stopped eating his food. His bowl sat full all day while he paced from room to room. At night, he'd jump on their bed and paw at Jessica's face, whining desperately. She'd push him off, frustrated and exhausted. One evening, Jessica was changing Emma's diaper when Max started barking. Not his normal bark. This was aggressive, urgent. He ran to the hallway and back to the nursery over and over like he was trying to show her something. "Stop it, Max," Jessica snapped. "You're going to wake her up." But Max wouldn't stop. He grabbed Jessica's pant leg with his teeth and pulled, something he'd never done before. "That's it." Jessica grabbed his collar and dragged him to the laundry room. She shut the door despite his frantic scratching and crying. She felt guilty, but she couldn't handle it anymore. Emma needed her attention, not a misbehaving dog. Ryan got home late that night. His headache was so bad he could barely see straight. He took some pain medicine and went straight to bed without eating. Jessica fed Emma one last time around 10 o'clock. She felt nauseous and weak, her arms trembling as she held the bottle. Emma drank slowly, her eyes half closed, barely responding. Something felt wrong. The house felt heavy, oppressive. Jessica's head pounded. Every breath seemed harder than the last. She laid Emma in the crib and stumbled to bed. Ryan was already asleep, snoring softly. Jessica meant to check on Max in the laundry room, but she was too exhausted. She'd let him out in the morning. As she drifted off, she heard scratching. Max was still at the door, still trying to get out. Still trying to warn them. But Jessica's eyes closed. The room spun. And she fell into a deep, dangerous sleep. None of them knew they had less than an hour before everything would fall apart. Jessica woke up to the sound of Max barking. Not regular barking. This was pure panic, echoing through the house like an alarm she couldn't shut off. Her eyes felt heavy, like someone had placed weights on her eyelids. The room tilted when she tried to sit up. How long had she been asleep? She glanced at the clock. 2 a.m. The barking got louder. Max must have gotten out of the laundry room somehow. She heard his nails clicking frantically on the hardwood floor, running back and forth. Ryan groaned next to her but didn't wake up. He was completely knocked out, his breathing shallow and strange. Jessica forced herself out of bed. Her legs wobbled beneath her. The hallway stretched out impossibly long as she made her way toward Emma's room. Each step felt like moving through thick mud. Max appeared at the end of the hall, his eyes wild. He ran to her, then back to the nursery, then to her again. His whole body shook with urgency. "What is wrong with you?" Jessica's voice came out slurred, confused. She pushed open the nursery door. Emma lay in her crib, too still, too quiet. Jessica's heart lurched. She rushed forward and picked up the baby. Emma's body felt limp. Her skin looked grayish in the dim night light. Her tiny chest barely moved. "Emma?" Jessica patted her cheek gently. "Baby, wake up." Nothing. Emma's head lolled to the side. Panic exploded in Jessica's chest. She tried to call for Ryan, but her voice wouldn't work right. Everything felt disconnected, like she was watching herself from far away. Max jumped at her legs, barking nonstop. Then he did something that changed everything. He grabbed Emma's blanket with his teeth and pulled. Art. The baby nearly slipped from Jessica's arms. "Max, no." Jessica tried to push him away with her knee. But Max wasn't backing down. He lunged again, this time clamping his jaws on the edge of Emma's onesie, trying to drag her away from Jessica. "Stop it." Jessica stumbled backward, clutching Emma tighter. Max's lips curled back. He growled, a sound she'd never heard from him before. Deep and threatening. Then he jumped up with both front paws, shoving against Jessica's stomach, trying to knock Emma loose. Jessica screamed. Or tried to. The sound came out weak and broken. Max snapped his jaws at Emma's feet. His teeth clicked together inches from her skin. He wasn't playing. This looked like an attack. Jessica's survival instinct kicked in through the fog clouding her brain. She turned her body, shielding Emma from the dog. Max circled around them, still growling, still trying to get to the baby. "Ryan." Jessica finally managed to yell his name. "Ryan, help." But Ryan didn't come. The house stayed silent except for Max's desperate barking and Jessica's racing heartbeat. She was alone with a violent dog and a dying baby, and she had no idea why. Jessica backed into the corner of the nursery, her body protecting Emma. Max wouldn't stop. He charged forward again, barking so loud it hurt her ears. "Get away." Jessica kicked at him, her foot barely connecting. She had no strength left. Max jumped on her leg, teeth grabbing her pajama pants, pulling her toward the door. Toward the hallway. Away from the nursery. Jessica's mind couldn't process what was happening. Her sweet, gentle Max had turned into something she didn't recognize. Tears blurred her vision as she looked down at Emma. The baby's lips had a blue tint now. Her breathing was so faint Jessica could barely feel it. Oh God, no. She stumbled out of the nursery, still holding Emma tight. Max released her pants and ran ahead, leading her down the hallway. He stopped at the front door and barked at it, then ran back to her, then to the door again. Outside. He wanted them outside. Jessica's thoughts moved like honey. Slow and thick. Nothing made sense. But some deep instinct told her to listen. To follow the dog. She unlocked the front door with shaking hands. The moment it opened, cold November air hit her face like a slap. Max bolted outside, then turned back, barking at her to follow. Jessica stepped onto the porch. Her bare feet touched the freezing concrete. The shock of cold air seemed to clear her head just slightly. Enough to remember. Ryan. He was still inside. Still asleep. She tried to go back in but her legs gave out. She collapsed on the front steps, Emma cradled against her chest. The baby wasn't moving at all now. Help. Jessica's voice was a whisper. She tried again, louder. Help us. A light turned on across the street. Their neighbor, Mr. Patterson, appeared at his window. Jessica waved her arm frantically. Please. Call 911. Mr. Patterson disappeared from view. Seconds later he was running across his lawn in his bathrobe, phone already at his ear. What happened? He knelt beside her. The baby. She won't wake up. And my husband is inside. He won't wake up either. Mr. Patterson spoke rapidly into his phone, giving their address. Then he ran into the house to find Ryan. Jessica sat on the cold steps, rocking Emma, begging her to breathe. Max pressed against her side, finally quiet. He licked Emma's tiny hand once, gently. Sirens wailed in the distance. Growing closer. Red and blue lights flashed down their quiet street. Paramedics swarmed the scene. One took Emma from Jessica's arms. Another wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and started checking her pulse, shining a light in her eyes. Mr. Patterson came out supporting Ryan, who could barely walk. His eyes were unfocused, his words jumbled nonsense. A firefighter went into the house with some kind of device. 30 seconds later he came running out. Everyone back. He shouted. Carbon monoxide. The house is full of it. The hospital room smelled like disinfectant and fear. Jessica sat in the bed with an oxygen mask over her face, watching the doctor check Emma's tiny vitals. Ryan was in the next room getting the same treatment. Emma had been the worst off. Her small body had absorbed the poison faster than any of them. The doctor said another 20 minutes and they would have lost her. Maybe all three of them. Your carbon monoxide detector. The doctor looked at Jessica with serious eyes. When was the last time you checked it? Jessica's stomach dropped. She couldn't remember. Had they ever checked it? They'd moved into that house 2 years ago. The detector was already installed. They just assumed it worked. The furnace had a crack in it. The firefighter explained later. Been leaking carbon monoxide into your house for weeks, maybe months. It builds up slowly. You don't smell it. You don't see it. You just get tired, get headaches. You think it's stress or the flu. And then you go to sleep and never wake up. Jessica started crying. Not just tears but deep sobs that shook her whole body. They'd been living in a death trap and had no idea. But Max knew. The vet confirmed it the next day when they brought Max in for a checkup. Dogs can sense carbon monoxide long before humans feel any effects. Their senses are sharper. Their bodies react faster. Max had been trying to warn them for weeks. All those times he paced and whined. All the scratching at doors and pulling at their clothes. He wasn't being difficult. He was trying to save their lives. And when Jessica wouldn't listen, when she locked him away, he'd broken through the laundry room door. He'd gone straight to Emma because she was in the most danger. He tried to drag her out of the house the only way he knew how. 3 days later they brought Emma home. The furnace had been replaced. New carbon monoxide detectors were installed in every room. The house had been aired out completely. Max waited at the door, his tail wagging nervously. When he saw Emma, his whole body relaxed. Jessica knelt down and wrapped her arms around him. I'm so sorry. She whispered into his fur. You tried to tell us. You tried so hard. Max licked her face, his tail thumping against the floor. Ryan joined them, Emma in his arms. He reached down and scratched behind Max's ears. You saved our family, buddy. You're a hero. That night they let Max sleep in Emma's nursery. He curled up beside the crib, finally at peace. His job was done. They were safe now. Jessica checked the carbon monoxide detector before bed. The little green light blinked steadily. Working perfectly. She looked at Max, at Emma sleeping soundly, at Ryan holding her hand. They'd almost lost everything. But because of one loyal dog who refused to give up, they'd gotten a second chance. Some heroes don't wear capes. Some heroes have 4 legs and a heart bigger than anyone could imagine.